What's up, everyone? It's the Aftertouch Podcast. It's your boy Tyler. Got my boy Taft here. And we have a very special guest on today. We're so excited to have Cassy Hulse.
Hey, guys.
It's Cassy Hulse.
Yeah. You
Boom. I've known Cassy for a while. When did you stop working at Old Navy?
Dude, I don't even remember.
It's been a while.
Yeah, like almost 3 years ago, I think.
Don't say that, because I've been home for only 3 years. So you
okay,
probably,
2.5.
Tyler wants to reduce the amount of time that he was there.
Oh man, there can't. I have like the lowest employee. I have like one of like the lowest employee numbers.
Wait, you have employee numbers?
Yeah. So you put in like your employee number. So like one of the managers is like, oh yeah, I'm a 2.4, and I'm like, I'm a 2.3.
That sounds like a score.
It's a big deal.
Huh.
All right, Cassy, real quick, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to dive into a super heavy topic, guys. Viewer discretion, we are going to be talking about pornography. So if you don't want to listen to it, turn it off. But hit up our other episodes, please. And but if you do want to stay on, please do. It's going to be a really insightful conversation. But Cassy, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do with your life? How's your dog?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I go to BYU. Served a mission in Peru. Grew up mostly in Oregon. Family lives in Montana. Studying linguistics at BYU. I got a dog recently, and
What kind of dog?
she's a blue heeler, and blue heelers do not belong in apartments. Just so everyone knows.
Oh, are they like hunting dogs?
She's like a cattle dog.
Oh,
Like,
that's cool though.
it's super cool, but not when you live in an apartment.
It needs to be active.
Yeah. And like taking her on 4-hour-long walks every day just isn't enough.
Oh, wow.
Dude, it's crazy.
Hey, at least any burglar that comes into your place is
Yeah.
going to have it. Or is
Well,
it a
that's
small
true.
little dog?
Cassie,
just
tell
small.
Taff what happened today, or
Okay.
the unprovoked story.
Right. So like I got her as an emotional support animal.
Mhm.
I adopted her from the shelter because I try to be a good person. And
You got a free dog. You got a free
Try to
dog.
be-
You got a free dog. You got a free dog.
oh, really? Okay. So, so I took her to the vet, for her first checkup. I've only had her for like 2 weeks,
Mhm.
and there are obvious signs of abuse, and she like bit me on Sunday.
Oh.
Yeah. And so it's just like been really rough for her. And so right before coming here, she broke off of her collar as I was taking her out to do her business.
Oh, no.
And she just like took off, and I had to chase her down.
What?
Anyways, so, just a little frazzled, but it's fine.
Okay, so you retrieved the animal.
Right.
Okay, that's good.
She's safe in my apartment now
That's good.
in her kennel.
But is this the end?
I think so, you guys.
Right. What's its name?
Her name is Lucy.
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 Yeah,
You
poor
might be the
Lucy.
weakest link. We'll miss you. That's sad though. That's a shame though.
It is.
Like screw the previous owners.
Right. Like, it's
Yeah.
not her fault, and
Mhm.
she's going to have a hard time getting adopted again
Yeah,
because I have to tell them about her aggression.
Yeah.
Can I make
It's
a joke
really
real quick?
Okay.
Because I'm like really irreverent.
Okay.
It's kind of. What do you think the other dogs are gonna say when you put it back in the shelter, though? I think it'd be like, "Oh, repeat offender." Like oh, you again? I don't know.
They're like, is that going to happen to us?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
it's so sad, though.
Dang it. Well, frick,
Yeah.
let's dive into this because this is some serious stuff, guys. We're gonna be talking about pornography.
Yeah.
Everyone. Okay, there's a study done in the UK. They and they found that 100% of boys, at least 14 years old, will see pornography in their life. Have already seen pornography, so that's 100%. So that's
Mhm.
everyone. And it goes It's the same thing with females. I'm sure. Pornography is what? What's the definition of pornography? 'Cause
That's actually a really good question because there's a lot of debate about that. And even like the U.S. Congress has a hard time having a definition for it. So I actually kind of have my own definition. And then a few other organizations that I work with kind of share this definition. It's any sort of media that is made for the intent of arousing someone sexually.
Yeah.
So whether it's images, video, sound, like anything that's created for that purpose.
That's straightforward, understandable.
It's everything.
Yeah.
You know.
And if you think about it, then that technically would mean most mainstream movies contain pornography, according to that definition.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they put things in mainstream movies that are supposed to titillate and excite and arouse.
Well, even like commercials or advertisements can contain it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh
like,
yeah, they'll
look at
just be
Carl's
like this
Jr.
like woman just scantily clad, and she's like Snickers, and you're like,
Yeah.
what? You're like, what?
Snickers.
Yeah.
Totally.
What does that have to
completely
do
But
with
it's intense.
caramel?
It's intense. I was listening. Have you heard of the comedian Aziz Ansari?
Yep.
Yeah, he was just talking about how he went to India and there was just like, you know, there's no pornography on their billboards or anything. It's just a really like conservative place. And then he got home and back to New York, and he just realized how much like pornography was everywhere, and he was just like, I gotta like make out with someone, but he didn't say that. but like it's just so intense, like, and we don't like really, because we're all probably
Desensitized.
We're desensitized to it.
Yeah.
So Cassy, we're having her on because she's intense, guys. She's the real deal.
Yeah, she is the real deal.
She's done stuff that I'm not brave enough to do. And frick, so Cassy, you went on social media and you just said, "Hey, I had just pornography problems."
Yeah.
First off, how did you gain the courage to do this? And then also tell us about the response that was afterwards, because that's kind of a big thing.
Oh yeah, totally.
Especially in Mormonism.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the story. It started the desire to post on social media started about a year before I did so. So I posted my first blog about it in February of 2016. A year leading up to that, it was right after I got off my mission, and probably like one of the only real goals that I felt like Heavenly Father was telling me to have was to write. And I thought, well, what in the heck am I going to write about? And I kept putting it off, and finally he was like, you need to tell your story about your addiction.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, heck no.
yeah, that's freaky.
No. And so, yeah. So like 6 months I was sitting on that idea and just thinking like, dude, there's no way. Like, Heavenly Father, I love you, but I think you're kind of cray right now.
Cray.
So like, it was after Christmas break, and it's about to get real, you guys. So Christmas break, before I posted, I had a slip up. It was my first major slip up viewing pornography since coming home from my mission, and it was devastating. And my response, or Heavenly Father's response, I guess, to that was, hey, if you want to solve this, you need to write about it. And I was like, what? Like, how does that work? But so I finally listened to him. Like, honestly, it was purely just like acting on what I felt like the Lord wanted me to do. So I wrote my post. By that time I had opened up to my roommates about it, and had them read it. I sent it to my very close friends and family, like my parents and siblings, before I posted it. And
just to get like an idea of what people would think, or just to let them know before you show to the world.
Yeah. Okay. Like, I wanted them to know first before all these random people knew.
Yeah.
So I posted it, and that was like the scariest 24 hours of my life. After posting it, I think I posted it sometime on a Saturday morning, at like 9 a.m. I couldn't sleep that night. I woke up at like 4:30, and I was like, okay, I need to go somewhere. I need to move. Where can I go at 4:30 in the morning? Either the temple or Walmart. So So I went to the temple.
Good choice. Good choice.
Thanks. And then I got back and I posted it, and just all day long, that whole first day, I just sat at my computer and watched message after message flow in. 'Cause I posted the blog, linked it, posted a link on Facebook.
I remember seeing it.
Yeah.
I remember being like, whoa.
Yeah. I kind of want to know what you thought of it. What your reaction was.
I actually feel bad to this day not commenting on it or sending you a message or a text saying, hey, thanks. Like, that was really brave of you. I had that feeling of, you get those feelings, hey, you should just
validating you.
Yeah.
He feels bad for not validating.
And I know I feel
Totally
awful.
fine.
No, I do. That's why that's why I was just like, I should get her on because we want to tell her, because I thought it was awesome, and I just wish I had done more. But
Dude, no.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. You're forgiven now. No.
This weight has been on my shoulders.
This whole time I've been wondering, what did Tyler Carpenter think about the blog?
But I thought it was really brave. And I was reading them, and I was just like, because it was anything, it was just like, wow, that's really nice that someone is can relate, because you can relate to it, because
Totally.
I've had slip ups too. I've had slip ups, and they're not fun.
Mm-hmm.
You don't feel good about them. And then I was like, it's nice to know that someone, and you also took it from a post mission perspective, which was really eye opening, because I was like, yeah, that's me too.
Yeah.
And I think it hit a lot. Did it hit a lot with other people?
Yeah. So in that first 24 hours, I got 2,000 views on my blog.
Oh my gosh.
And which blew my mind, because at that time I only had 900 Facebook friends. And so I was like, who are these people?
Mm-hmm.
And it was terrifying going from having maybe 5 people in the entire world know about it to having 2,000 people, most of them strangers. But every single comment, every single message that I got was exactly what you said. Thank you so much for posting that. Yeah. I can't even count, literally hundreds of messages, mostly women, saying thank you so much for giving me a voice.
That's another big thing, is that you're coming at it from a woman's perspective, which is what is it, taboo?
Totally.
Is that the word?
Well, yeah, I think it's just when you hear the term pornography, you automatically associate it with male, because men are more visual. Mm-hmm. They're more likely to seek it out, but women will seek it out as well. So I think, it's awesome that you are a voice for them, that you are willing to do that.
Thanks. So that whole experience of posting my blog opened up so many doors to working with so many awesome people in the anti-pornography movement. So now I'm my blog has kind of sat on the back burner.
She touched the camera.
But if anyone wants to read it,
it's still there. It's still there. Yeah.
It's battletogether.com. Yeah. I can't even remember what it's called. It's been so long. But no, so working with different nonprofits. My biggest one I'm working with is Reach 10, and they're all about their whole message basically is shame hurts, love heals. And they're all about educating and empowering millennials to be activists in this movement. Kind of like the response to Fight the New Drug, where they're all about educating why pornography is harmful. Mm-hmm. Reach 10 is kind of the answer of, okay, we know porn is harmful, so now what? It's all about creating healthy connection and educating people on how to respond to pornography and stuff.
So it's it's anti-shame.
Yeah.
What if I'm pro-shame though?
Get out.
What if I'm pro-shame?
Get out.
Get out.
I'm very pro-shame.
Pro-shame.
I'm very pro-shame. like not like bad pro shame, but like I'm very pro shame.
What does that mean?
Like I wake up. Let me tell you my routine every morning.
Okay.
Okay. And this is like I have yet to skip a beat.
Okay.
I wake up. I turn on the light because I wake up really early to go to Old Navy.
Oh gosh.
It's dark, so I turn on the light. I look at myself and I go, "Oh, you fat piece of crap."
No.
Go to the bathroom, look at myself one more time in the mirror, remind myself that I'm a fat piece of crap, go to work, but then I work out to make myself not feel like that. But I do it jokingly / like, but I don't know. I feel like shame. I feel like I feel like
Cassie's not buying that. You
know,
do it
like,
jokingly.
Doesn't a little bit of shame promote self like?
Here's the thing. There's a difference between guilt and shame.
Yep.
Okay, so maybe that's what I'm.
Shame is from the devil, from Satan.
Yeah.
So what's the difference?
100%. Guilt.
What's shame and difference between
Guilt
shame and
motivates you to change and become
Yeah.
better and do better. Shame is like, poor me. I'm a fat piece of crap. You know, it's
Exactly
all
what you're
about
saying.
like putting you down. Guilt is like you understand what you did was wrong, but you also know your potential, your capacity, who you can become, and that you have the capability to change.
Okay, I changed my mind on the episode.
Change it.
I'm pro guilt.
Pro
Yeah, there
guilt.
you go.
I'm pro
Be
guilt.
pro guilt.
Yeah.
Guilt instead of like shame. I'll just go point at people. Go guilt. Okay, boom. I didn't know. I never knew the difference.
Yeah. Also, another good one is like shame kind of attacks the person, whereas guilt attacks the action.
Yeah.
Say that
That
one
is
more
an
time.
important
Shame
distinction.
attacks the person. Guilt attacks the action.
We're gonna have a separate conversation after this.
Okay.
Teach me more. Okay, just on that because I could be like, I could talk about the whole shame guilt thing this whole podcast, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Okay, so the response was good.
Yeah.
You're working with Reach 10.
Yep.
And the other one, are they the Porn Kills Love?
Okay, so yeah, that's Fight the New Drug.
That's Fight the New Drug. Okay.
Yep.
I've also saw a shirt that says Shame Kills Love. What organization's that?
Oh, I don't know.
It looks exactly like the Porn Kills Love, except this one says Shame Kills Love.
I don't know. Maybe they're like a anti-Fight the New Drug.
No, I know it. They are. They
Yeah.
are, I think. Because I saw some girl
I
wearing
actually,
it.
I haven't heard of it. I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, she was just like crazy, like I'm like pro, like do whatever you want. So she got I was just like, what?
I don't know.
So that's why I was saying like shame
It's
kills
very
love.
progressive.
That's why I was just like, well, maybe I'm pro shame. Maybe it should have been guilt.
Yep.
What are some of the things though that are? So what are some of the things then that these organizations teach people on how to like respond to people who are like, you know, hey, I watch pornography. I understand it's bad. What's the next step? What are these organizations teaching people?
Okay, so basically, like, let's say, like, your friend opens up to you and says, like, hey, man, I've been struggling with porn for, like, ever since I was a kid, you know, which is usually the case. We teach that your response to that is to love them, to show love, show, hey, you're not alone. The way I look at you has not changed. You are still my friend, and I love you. And you don't have to go through this alone. Basically teaching them, like, how to be a support, but also that kind of gets into, like, where's their responsibility when it comes to their own personal recovery and, you know.
But I feel like I'm agreeing. By the way, I agree with everything you just said. I feel like it's sad though that you guys have to teach that. I feel like that should be like the response.
Natural
that should be a
response,
natural
yeah.
response.
I know.
Like, hey, I'm struggling with this, and the person go, ugh. Like,
Oh, like Napoleon. Oh. God. You make a good point, though, Tyler. Our natural tendency as human beings is to kind of like immediately label someone or judge someone. But it's like, hey, who am I to judge another when I walk imperfectly, right?
Right.
We learned that. So.
yeah, and like especially with the fact that like the reason why I stated that the 100% of people have seen porn, like you've seen it too.
Yeah.
Like don't
yeah.
like act like you didn't see it and that you didn't like it.
Right.
Like a big thing is I hate is when people go, oh, I just can't even stand it. I'm like, no, let's be real. You can't stand the fact of the effects and what it does.
Right.
But when you see it, don't lie that it's not enticing.
Appealing.
It's
Yeah.
appealing and
Right.
enticing.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be.
Right. Well, that all comes back to how over-sexualized our culture has become. So, I mean, 100% of people have seen pornography, but very few of them will actually recognize it as pornography. You know, they'll see, like we were talking about, billboards and advertisements and things containing pornography. Like they'll see those ads, like a Victoria's Secret commercial or something like that. And they'll say like, right, like it's, did we already discuss the definition of pornography?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, just going off that definition, those ads are pornographic. And people don't want to admit that it's pornographic because it makes them feel like a bad person, because they would have to then admit that they've seen pornography and that they've
Liked it.
Yeah.
Everyone likes those Victoria's Secret ads. I love
Right.
them.
Whenever I'm walking in the mall and I consciously see the Victoria's Secret store coming up, I purposely walk on the opposite side of the mall.
Right.
And I just like look the other way because I don't want to be that guy that's like
Right.
automatic, you know, like checking out the huge 10-foot scantily
Right.
clad ladies.
Yeah.
It's just like,
I'm that guy he describes. I'm that guy he describes.
but here's the thing, but it's because I would be drawn to it, you know?
Right, right.
And so I purposely am like, no, I know it's coming.
Yeah.
Just avoid
Right.
it, you know?
And it's really like, it is sad that how over sexualized our society
Right.
is, and people think, oh, well, they're not having like sex, they're not like fully naked, it's not porn. You go, yeah, but you're aroused. That's pornography. Like that, you look at that long enough, you're gonna start thinking, your mind's
Yeah.
gonna wander.
Right. And it's really sad because that over sexualization, or even a term they like to use in Reach 10 is pornified culture, has completely changed how we perceive other people. And you know, people have become objects. Their bodies have become objects. And so, you know, looking at a beautiful classical painting of the human body was something, and still is something, to be appreciated and moving. Whereas in today's culture, we've taken the human body and taken it away from majestic, beautiful art and turned it into objects to be lusted after and used. And it's sad.
Yeah, just hearing it, it's like dingy.
Because
Yeah.
it's not comfortable.
Yeah.
Because you feel guilty. That's the right word. No, not shame. Guilt. That was eye-opening.
Super important. Cassie, what advice would you give those struggling with pornography? Like mental advice.
Yeah.
What can they do to start to kind of get a grip on who they are, their potential, what they can do to improve?
Yeah.
What would you say?
So when I was in high school, in the thick of my addiction, there were literally like very long periods, monthly periods, where I would one in the same day read my scriptures, and then I read my scriptures at night, and then literally act out in my addiction, or viewing pornography. So it was really hard for me to kind of combat the shame that I felt and feeling like I was two different people, where there was the good Cassie who read her scriptures and was Laurel's president and, you know, straight A's, honor student, like good Cassie. And then there was bad Cassie with this really horrible, awful secret, and who was a freak because she was the only girl in the entire world who struggled with this problem. You know, all those horrible thoughts that you have. And reading the Book of Mormon every single day, I think, is literally what saved me. Even though I was acting out in my addiction almost every day at that point. Reading the Book of Mormon alongside it kept me from fully nosediving into the pit of despair. And so,
Shame-wise.
Right. And
so even though you were acting, you still didn't feel like really low because you at least had that sense of no, God loves you because of the Book of Mormon.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see that.
Like it helped me to save my identity as like, yes, I act out in this really horrible way, but I'm still a beloved daughter of God.
Yeah.
So like if you're doing anything, read the scriptures. Like that will help. Even
know
a
that
little bit.
this addiction, or at least what you're struggling with, or any struggle in general, doesn't take away from your self-worth.
Oh yeah, totally.
Because I think a lot of times people look at those things and they put their self-worth with these struggles, and that's just not how it is. You can struggle; it doesn't mean you're less of a person.
Yeah,
Totally, I agree,
yeah.
and I totally agree with you on the Book of Mormon, because I've gone like phases where I don't read it, and when I do read it, and I've just barely gotten back, and I'm reading it every night, and it makes such a difference.
Yeah.
My days just go better. I feel better. I'm better able to not give in to temptation, which is critical, you know?
Yeah.
So
all our viewers out
I
there,
second that.
Viewers who are not Mormon and want to know what the Book of Mormon is, LDS.org. Get yourself a free copy because it will help. Got to do a plug.
Dang, Tyler.
Look at
Love
you.
that missionary action.
Yeah. Well, it is such a big tool, though. Like,
Yeah.
and the fact that it is. I mean, while I was in, my dad's the ward mission leader in their ward, and I went home and I just snagged a free Book of Mormon. I mean, I have my own scriptures, but there's something about having just the blue you can take.
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah.
What was the? I'm trying to think how to word this. Okay, maybe I can. I'll say what I'm saying, then you respond in a woman's way.
Okay.
So, not to advocate pornography.
Right.
Okay. Mic's off. Mic's off. But I do. It's one of those things where you don't. When I hear someone they're like, I'm struggling with pornography. It's something that I don't condemn.
Right.
But I also don't condone and I don't condemn it. I still think it's bad. It's bad.
Right.
And I don't tell them like, oh, it's one of those things where like from a male point, if one of my male friends would be like, hey, I'm struggling with pornography, I would just be like, yeah, I get that because, biologically, probably like, especially for like Mormons, like biologically, our brain is that we're supposed to be like having sex at like 16 and we're like, waiting for marriage. And so obviously if you're not having that, you need to like have an outlet, and that's pornography is like, hey, like I'm here. And I see that from a guy's point of view because I was listening to Joe Rogan podcast today. They were kind of talking about the hashtag Me Too movement.
Oh, yeah.
And why guys are struggling with all this sexual stuff.
Yeah.
And Joe Rogan was like, well, biologically, men are creating semen, and the point of semen is to get rid of it. And so biologically, men are creating semen, and then if you don't like watch pornography or get it out, you're just like and it's this whole psychological thing. What then would you say is like maybe reasons why women would gravitate to it, and why do women gravitate towards pornography, and how can women specifically find ways to avoid it or
combat those feelings that they might have?
Okay.
Taft always says everything like perfectly in like one sentence, and I have to like. My mom was like, I listened to your podcast, and Taft says everything in one sentence, and it takes you like 2 minutes, and I'm just waiting for Taft to correct you. But yeah, what he said.
Yeah. Okay, so like even just like 30, 40 years ago, pornography for men, is Playboy magazine or, just like a centerfold or something. And for women, it was romance novels. It was literature. And people didn't recognize it as pornography because they weren't pictures. And so for people to say that women are just now entering the world of pornography addiction.
Not true.
Yeah, like they've been in it for a long time. They just haven't been recognized.
Yeah, it comes in many different forms.
Yeah. And so another thing too that just like gets into the discussion of women's sexuality and believing that women are not sexual creatures.
They are.
Exactly.
If not, maybe more.
Exactly. No, really though. Like,
no, yeah.
Yeah. Like I mean, I don't want to like, I don't have the sources. I don't want to quote. A really good resource is Jennifer Finlayson Fife. That's a lot of F sounds. Jennifer Finlayson Fife. She is a licensed sex therapist. She's Mormon. She talks all about like healthy sexuality for women. And so like if any of our listeners, like your listeners, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, like shout out to her. So yeah, I don't have a lot to say on that personally, because I'm not as informed outside of the pornography realm.
Yeah.
But I think that crosses into women's sexuality and the misconception that that people believe that women don't have a sex drive.
They do. And the worst, the saddest part is the person I'm about to quote is Kevin Hart. But he said in one of his stand-up specials, he's like, women are just as sexually active and desiring as men, if not 1,000 times more. The only difference is it's not public.
Right.
It's not a public thing. They keep it in themselves. And also entertainment is kind of catered towards like men.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it totally goes... Sorry, my feminist is going to be showing a little bit. But
wait, what? I'm joking.
Wait, what?
You're like, get off the show.
You're a feminist? Pull the plug tab.
So, I mean, I think that honestly goes back to this patriarchal culture that we've lived in where, you know, you think of words for promiscuous men versus the terms used for promiscuous women.
All right, yeah, there's not even promiscuous man words that I know.
Right.
Yeah, it's so degrading when it's women.
Like,
right.
I think for guys, it's like tool.
Yeah.
And like douche.
Or player.
Player.
Oh,
and that's
yeah.
not even,
And
and
that's
that's a compliment.
Yeah.
Like you're a player.
Wow, that is an interesting insight.
Whereas,
I
like,
never thought of
the
that.
women's like slut. That is such a hard,
Yeah, it's
sleazy
like,
word.
Yeah, there are so many more like it. I mean, the list could go on and on.
Wow, I didn't really think about that till you brought it up.
Yeah,
Because
that's
those words
interesting.
Because
Man.
you would go, and this is kind of like sad, but like probably in society, if your son was to be like, hey dad, like I went out with a girl, you'd be like, yeah. But if a girl did that with a guy, you'd be like, what?
Yeah.
And that's because, I mean, obviously you're very protective, but like the player, you go to your friend, dude, you did this, but if your girlfriend did, you'd be like, oh,
right,
a little sleazy.
Yeah.
And it's so degrading.
Yeah. So I think that's just one small part of the whole picture of that culture that we live in, that kind of, you know, it's part of the sexualized culture that we live in also oppresses women in that way. Yeah. Yeah. And so, to answer your question, I think that women do, are starting to enter this new way of experiencing sexuality in a way that they were never permitted to before or had access to before, that came about with the internet. And so along with that, I mean, I don't want to leave the impression that people only look at pornography because they're feeling aroused or,
oh no, like,
you know,
it's to fill. It's always to fill something. It's never about the pornography itself.
Yeah.
The pornography is an outlet because something is missing.
Exactly.
And that's, I think, crucial to emphasize.
That is totally, pornography is almost on the same level as like binge eating, binge watching TV. It's a distraction from pain. It's a coping mechanism. And in some other serious cases, it can be, you know, reliving unaddressed trauma. Like there's so much that goes into someone watching pornography. You know, it's not just because of boredom, although that can sometimes like play into it.
But with anything, you're like, but like the bored person's like, I'm bored. And like, you know, if you watch pornography, you're going to feel good for some reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're like,
yeah.
I'm bored. This will make me feel good.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's a huge part of
Yeah.
it.
Especially for most millennials, they were exposed to pornography as young children. And going to pornography over and over again through those young years, I mean, you're literally developing neural pathways in your brain that are wiring you to for
Seek
that to
that
be your
out.
default.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's a lot of work to overcome, whether it's a habit of viewing pornography or a full-on addiction. It takes a lot of effort, and it's not easy, but it's totally possible. And there are a lot of resources out there.
It's sad that it's sad that it's such a big industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's so sad, and it makes you like question. Well, one, you know why they're doing it, because they're making bank.
Oh yeah.
They're making bank, and just like, I don't know, like they're constantly creating new pornographic content, like as if there isn't enough out there. Like,
Yeah.
you know?
Okay, and you know what's sick too is that they're purposely targeting children.
Oh gosh.
What?
Yeah, 1 out of 10 viewers into their site are under the age of 10.
Oh man.
Yeah.
How do they target?
Like
'Cause that's gross.
like you'll have like those free online games where you can visit, and they'll like
Oh, then the pop-up
pop-up ads and
That's so disgusting.
yeah.
There's a special place for them, those people.
Oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Next to Satan. Yeah. It's just like sad. Like I just wonder, do you remember, have you seen Taken?
Oh yeah.
Seen Taken?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Do you
will
remember-
find you.
Do you remember when Liam Neeson finally finds the guy who runs the auction?
Oh,
And he's
yeah.
like, and the guy, and he's tied up, and the guy's like, hey, listen, I get it. I have a daughter. I have a family. This is just business. It's not personal. And it's just one of those, I wonder what those head guys think.
yeah.
Like, they probably have families too. And like, do they want their kid? Like, are they fine
Yeah,
with their
exactly.
kids
That's
exposed to these
weird.
gross things? I know a lot. I know these porn stars, whatever. They probably have children. Are they okay? Like, it's bring your parent to school week. Let's talk about their profession. Like I just like, are they proud? Are they proud of like what they're doing? Are these head honchos like, oh, kids don't look at porn, but that's how.
That's like
feeding.
all they.
Like, where's the
Yeah.
guilt and shame? I will shame them. Can we shame them?
It's definitely, I mean, I think that we can definitely point our fingers to like the head honchos, right?
Shame
They're
them.
basically the equivalent of pimps. And just, in a digital version. There are so many women and men who have left the porn industry. Thank goodness they have left, because so many of them get trapped in it through like threats, especially financial manipulation, drugs. It is a horrible, horrible industry that is totally promoting human trafficking. And so, yeah, I mean, we can't really like...
It's never going to be eliminated, which is sad.
Right. And we can't totally like point our fingers at the porn stars themselves, because so many of them are underage, and we're trafficked into it, or manipulated somehow financially into it. There are some who want to be there, but it's a dangerous, horrible, just black spot on our world. And oh gosh.
Yeah. So, Cassie, you've spoken at events and stuff. When was the first time you spoke, and what event was it, and what did you talk about? Like, what did you share?
Okay, so my first major event that I got to speak at was the SASH conference. Let me see if I can remember what that stands for.
Putting her on the spot.
Just watching, she's like, she's not invited next year.
She couldn't understand. She didn't remember.
Okay. Let's see. Society for the Advancement on Sexual Health. I think it's something like
Okay.
that.
That sounds good enough.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds legit.
We believe you.
Yeah. So like it was terrifying because I was speaking to it's the type of conference where like professionals go to, as opposed to like there's the UCAP conference, which is the Utah Coalition Against Pornography, and that's like, you know, you could take your family to that, and it's, you know, listening to a bunch of different people. This was like specifically for like therapists and teachers, educators, like
intimidating.
So the people who are going to be making a difference to other people.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm just a little like girl in recovery. Like,
yeah, but they need to hear your experience.
Yeah.
They need to hear your side, because then they can take that to help other people.
Definitely.
I mean, who knows how much. Who knows how much your reach of this story has hit because of the conferences that you've been to and the lessons that these people have heard from you, taking it to other people who are struggling with this addiction problem.
Yeah. So that was probably one of the most like intimidating things I'd ever been. But like you said, like it was also like one of the most fulfilling because because I was able to like think of those people that I am hopefully helping.
And you have another conference soon?
Yeah, that is an LDS women's retreat in Arizona. Their organization or the conference is called SALT. And then in February, I'll be speaking on a panel at BYU. It's a pornography
awareness
panel. It's like I just got the email this morning, something like pornography, you know. It's like, okay, it has my name on it.
So that's a good segue. Tell us how does BYU then respond? Okay, so you signed an honor code that said that you're not going to view pornography on campus and or like just in general, and that you're going to adhere to all these rules. And then you post saying that you had a slip up.
Right.
And then like, you know, which means, and other people also have slip ups. Other people maybe have more than one slip up. Maybe some people are just addicted in general.
Right.
And then in the church's policy, when you confess to a bishop, you are told you have complete confidentiality.
Right.
But then you've also broken the BYU honor code, which is not very specific on some stuff. So maybe you can tell us how the BYU honor code and the church is kind of like what they're doing to help combat pornography, because I mean it's people aren't going to say anything out of fear that they're going to get expelled.
Right.
How do you do you help them without Taft come in and save me? You want them to be helped, but then they're not going to help themselves because they're fear of getting kicked out.
Right.
How do you help them without enabling them?
God, you see that perfect sentence?
That was beautiful.
Beautiful sentence.
Okay, so there's a really awesome campaign going on right now. It's called Ignite the Change. You should find it on Facebook.
Hashtag ignite the change.
I think so. Yeah.
I'm gonna hashtag this.
Okay. I'm pretty sure it's a hashtag. So anyways.
He's writing it down.
It's all about helping to clarify the honor code, because the honor code with its current wording basically implies that if you have struggled with pornography or if you have any involvement with pornography, that it can lead to expulsion.
Wait, even you said have? Like if you just had, like past tense.
Don't quote me on it.
Okay.
Yeah, don't quote me on it. That's my understanding of it, but
that's intense though.
Oh yeah, totally. And so people are terrified of saying anything about it. And luckily, I didn't pay that close attention to reading the honor code, or maybe I wouldn't have posted about my addiction. I don't know, but
they're just waiting to out you at this panel. That's why they want you at the panel. They're like, we got her.
they'll be waiting for me with cuffs.
Yeah.
Oh man, no, honor code wouldn't do that. Okay, anyways, so. Yeah, that's like a huge misconception that that you can be expelled if you confess to pornography, because I think you can read about it on that campaign on Facebook. Like no one gets expelled for viewing pornography. Otherwise, like 90% of the student body would be expelled.
Yeah.
And so to address your question about like how does the bishop play in with that? Bishops, I think that it's different for each one.
Case by case.
Yeah. And that's actually something that they do mention, is that like we take every situation, case by case. Nothing is black and white. I mean, unless it's like something obviously like, so I was going to say like breaking the law of chastity. Watching pornography is breaking the law of chastity. Okay, anyways. Okay, so lost my train of thought. Yeah. Bishops. I think that students who go to BYU also, like, if they've done something to break the honor code and they're telling their bishops about it, like, that is, I think, a risk that they take. And, it's by agreeing to live the honor code and then breaking it, like.
It's hard. It's definitely it's a hard thing that you sign that, you made that promise, and you risk it, basically.
And so there are a lot of people who choose to live against the honor code and to keep that from their bishop, and maybe their graduating is more important than repentance or
their life in heaven.
Their life, going. Maybe they.
Hey, if you're struggling with something, listen. I struggle with stuff too, but I didn't sign an honor code.
Yeah, anyways, that was kind of a messy response.
No,
but
that's good. Hey, this is a serious topic. We gotta have some lighthearted.
Yeah, it is serious, man.
Yeah, I can just see that. It'd be really scary to.
Yeah.
Like, not only do you have this spiritual aspect, but you could get kicked out of school.
Yeah.
And that's big, and I could see it like hurting people.
But just to be clear, if you are struggling with pornography, like, don't be afraid of getting kicked out of BYU, because it doesn't happen. So.
Yeah.
And you're going to feel better about yourself.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's like the bishop's like, oh, another one of these cases.
Oh,
because
totally.
it's so prevalent, especially
Totally.
I think in LDS culture. I think just the way we were raised up, like sex is like this compartmentalized thing. And we don't quite yet learn how to embrace it as it's a good thing.
Totally.
But at the right place and the right time, and that's in marriage, But yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot that I think the teachings are good, but how they teach it could be refined better to like you said.
Yeah.
Because it's not a bad thing. It's not a
bad
thing.
It's a great thing.
But it's seen though in those early years as if you do it, you're in trouble. And it's just like, oh, well, that means it's bad.
It's kind of like that same thing we use for the temple, where it's sacred, not secret.
Yeah.
We've applied that to sex as well, and it's totally caused way more confusion than the temple analogy has.
That's true. We do, and with the temple, somehow we're able to word it way more positively on how we teach it. Like, you were never like, oh, the temple must be bad.
Right.
Because it's secret. It's, you never brought up.
There's a time and a place for it
Uh-huh.
when you're mature and you're ready.
But
and
for some reason, we list consequences. Well, you list the consequences, obviously.
And it's a taboo subject with sex. And so, put that secret versus sacredness on a taboo subject. And it just causes a lot of confusion and a lot of more secretiveness about it.
What do you think can be done to improve this area of pornography, either in the elements of teaching, bringing awareness, or just individuals in general? What can be improved?
That's a great question.
It is.
I know.
I know.
Hey, and he didn't have to clarify it.
I know, because it was so easy. It was so simple. I was thinking about it for the last 30 minutes.
Tyler's like, ooh, it's my chance.
Okay, so number one advice that the whole world needs to know is to learn how to have healthy conversations about pornography. Just talk about it. You know, like, stop being afraid to say the word pornography. And along with that, viewer discretion advised for the next 5 seconds. Don't be afraid to say the M word, masturbation.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's a hard word to say.
Mm-hmm.
You say it and a lot of people cringe.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But being able to just talk about these things, talk about sex, not as... So this is especially for parents, to talk about sex frequently, and in casual settings, making sex an open topic where your kids can come and ask questions when they see something on TV or they hear something at school, and creating safe spaces and safe opportunities to have those conversations all the time.
Yeah.
I, for the longest time, thought sex was kissing, because we were watching an episode of Friends, and then, you know, they always make sex jokes, and then my parent, I was like, "What's sex?" And they go, "Oh, it's just the one they kiss." And so for a long time, I was just like, "Man, my parents, you know, so much sex because they're just kissing all the time." And then because of that, when I finally learned what it was, and I was like, "Well, wow, why didn't my parents tell me this?"
Right.
You, James, my friend James, who clearly wasn't my friend, you are the man. You are the educator and the teacher. Teach me more. He goes, "Hey, come over to my house, and I'm going to show you a video." And then that's just where. But because I was just like, well, my parents didn't, and I'm not guilty of my parents, you know, it is a taboo thing.
Yeah. And it's the culture
Did
that
you
they
see how
grew
I
up
didn't
in.
say the word masturbation during the Joe Rogan thing?
Oh yeah, I was gonna
See,
point
I
it
didn't
out.
say masturbation because I was like, and you gotta watch pornography, but you don't. You gotta masturbate.
Right.
But I was like, I'm not gonna say. And when you said the M word, I was like, marriage. And you're like, masturbation. I went, Whoever's upstairs is probably like, what are they talking about? But yeah, it is such a taboo thing in our Mormon culture. My friends didn't have a problem with this.
Yeah.
It's something, and because it's taboo, we go to other sources instead of the ones who.
And you get it from the wrong source, and you get the distorted version of it, which is the pornography online that's just degrades people, degrades men and women.
It was taught like sex is between a married husband and a wife, and you do it when you're older. I've been like, boom, I click, but instead I was like, oh, sex is that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then that's all you know it is.
Oh,
for
yeah.
a while.
I read this really awesome blog post about like how to avoid having the sex talk, and they compared the sex talk to like if you were to teach that same principle with reading, where they say these symbols are called letters, and you put those letters together and they create words, and one day when you're ready, you'll be able to put words together and you'll be able to read, and it's really special, and you'll be able to read one day. Like, that's crazy, but for some reason, for so long, if a kid ever even got the sex talk, which I didn't at all, that's what they're getting, and
that's
it's not
interesting.
enough.
Yeah, it isn't.
Yeah, and so, you know, creating a new generation of kids who are educated about their body parts, about how reproduction works, you know, using the terms to describe, you know,
arousal or experiences they have, because everyone has them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Here's the question I got. I have to play devil's advocate. is it possible that it could be detrimental by if you educate them that this could lead to worse stuff?
No, that's a really good question.
Thanks.
No, yeah, that's a big concern for a lot of people, and like
if you know about it, then wouldn't that lead you to
Then pursue it.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
right. So a lot of parents will say like, well, why would I talk to my 5-year-old about this? Won't it just make them like more curious about it? And so, if you're, which I think that you should be talking about sex with your kids as soon as they're able to start talking, which,
oh dang,
right. So that might, I know, let me explain. So like, I'm not going to sit down with a 3-year-old and explain intercourse. Yeah.
You were like, I saw that.
I know. I was like, what words should I use?
I'll say that word.
Or masturbation or pornography. Like, they don't need to know about those things, but they can know that, boys have a penis and girls have a vagina.
Yeah, like basics.
Exactly. They should know just like they're learning that this is their hand, this is their nose, these are their eyes, this is their
Ding-a-ling.
whatever they have, but don't call it that.
Oh, dang it.
Using anatomically correct terms.
I'm gonna be a bad parent, apparently.
You just got shambok.
No, because this is one of those topics where I think about like when I have kids, how do I? And I'm still kind of in the taboo of like, I'm just gonna shield.
Right.
But like I want to educate, and I'll probably do it like smart, but there is that desire to shield your kids and protect them, but in a better way.
If you do it right when they're young, I feel like it will make a huge difference because kids are so malleable and they're open to learning the proper way of doing things,
Yeah.
So I think sharing it with them
and create
earlier
maybe
on is
create trust with your kid.
Yeah, that's important.
Come to me. Don't go to them.
Exactly.
Come to me.
If you ever see this, let's talk about it. And don't shame them. Don't go, oh, that's so bad. But like, let's talk about what you saw. Yeah, in a very open way.
Yeah. There's a really awesome resource. It's called Good Pictures, Bad Pictures. It's by Kristen Jensen from Protect Young Minds. It's all about how to talk to your kids about pornography and how to help them recognize what pornography is and what to do when they see it.
That sounds awesome.
So, yeah, I highly recommend that for kids. Or,
Good
for
pictures,
parents
bad
reading it
pictures.
to their kids.
Is it a website?
There is a website.
Okay.
ProtectYoungMinds.org. Yeah, they're pretty awesome.
We could probably just talk about this forever.
I know. It's an important subject, but we're getting pretty close.
Oh, we've totally gone over.
We've gone over,
the longest episode we've ever done. But hey, we always want to have a repeat guests on. Cassy, let's have you on again one of these
That'd
days
be awesome.
because that was good. I learned a lot.
I learned a lot too.
Good. I'm glad.
And do you have anything else you'd feel like sharing
to close?
Yeah. Just if there's anyone out there struggling, like know that there's hope and reach out to those around you. The best way to combat addiction is connection. Connect to those around you. Set down your phone, talk to someone, and you'll find help.
I love that. Thanks so much for coming on, Cassy.
Hulse, everyone.
Thanks, guys.